Thinking about investing in vacation homes or rental properties? Well, you're not alone. But before you dive in, you probably have a ton of questions, like how much money do you need? Is it really passive income? And what are the risks? Welcome to our new series, How to Make Passive Income with Vacation Homes and Rentals. We'll cover everything from the most common questions asked in the first video, and then we'll cover some other topics in this series such as financing, property selection, rental management, and investment trends. Today, I'm joined by an incredible panel of experts to help answer the most common questions in real estate investing. So let's get started. We'll cover questions new investors ask before jumping into real estate. So let's break it down. Like we said, we have a rock star panel here today, and let's go ahead and get started with introductions. Boog Potter.
Yeah, I'm Boog Potter. I do development and investment in real estate, specifically in the 30A area.
I'm Kendall Hood. I'm a real estate broker and the founder of the Kendall Hood Collection at Compass.
And I'm Brandon Youngs, founder and owner managing partner of Southern Holiday Homes, a short-term vacation rental management company based here on Highway 30A.
All right, let's kick it off. Let's get into some of the most common questions that you may have when you're looking at investment properties. So, what are the biggest mistakes that buyers make when applying for an investment mortgage? And I'll take this one, I'll kick it off first. A lot of it is they don't know what's in the marketplace in terms of like loan types, loan products, the differences between, using it as a business purpose for an investment and or as just like what they're used to going to the bank and getting a personal or primary home loan, right? So typically they start there. There's a few products that are available to them, but those products aren't genuinely geared towards the investment, marketplace where you can get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of all the different efficiencies of what that product can do for you. So really it's good to start with, maybe a wholesale broker or a lender that has many options, and then you kind of start to explore that. Boog, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, traditional banking sometimes is not the best way to go when you're looking for an investment. When you're doing your own home and your residence, then you go the traditional mortgage route. You might go through a bank. If you're looking for a business loan, you might go to your bank, your banking relationship. But when you're talking about an investment property, a lot of times you're going to have to go outside the box and find a broker that specializes in investment property. They're going to have a different set of products for you to use for your financing. We've done some traditional bank financing, but we've also, that's how we met. We went outside of the box to try to do some different products for some of the financing of our development. Yeah,
get more creative with it. And then it helps you out when you have buyers and they're out looking that they already have some thoughts in their head about, okay, what's this property going to look like? What am I going to have to do in terms of getting approved for this kind of property? What do you look for when, you get them in the car and you're going to show them a property?
Well, an educated buyer is always the best buyer, especially when it comes to their loan products, so that they understand what they can actually get, what is going to be the best option for them financially, immediately, and in the long run. So I always hope that they have spoken to a lender in advance. If not, I actually try to ensure that they do, so that we're not wasting our time looking at products that aren't going to be a good fit for them, at properties that aren't going to be a good fit for them.
Right, and I also say that probably one of the things too is that whole pre-approval. What are you trying to, what's your appetite, and then what's your capability, right? And that's, we would all want, appetite here, mm-hmm. But you got to be able that you can get approved. And if you're trying to put it into some sort of business or investment loan, what does that approval look like? And that helps y'all.
Definitely.
I'll add to that. I think, I've talked to a few people that'll reach out for some advice on an investment property. And I think it's natural to think I need to go out and find the property that I really like first. And that's really backward. You really, to Kendall's point, you have to know what you can purchase, what price range are we in. It does you no good to go out and pick a particular property and then you learn later, I can't qualify for that. So to your point, you need to find out that pre-approval. What type of investment property could I really afford, that makes sense for where I stand financially now, and then you go out and look for the property.
Absolutely.
To add to that too, I think from a management perspective, making sure that the client is set up to be successful is not taking on more debt in a product or an asset that they can't actually afford to have if they don't achieve this exact number. So sometimes there's some telltale signs when I'm talking with clients and trying to, educate them on the short-term rental world. But not only that though, too, help them find a product or an asset that's going to fit their and their family's needs is, hey, we want this. Well, that's great. But okay, but can it do $40,000 a month in July? Well, can it? Yes. Now, but let's not plan for that. That's got to be the upside. But at the end of the day, let's make sure that you're comfortable knowing that if it didn't, that it's not going to change the way that you have to live your life.
And that's a good point too, because as I think about this and we're talking about it, a lot of loan products out there have a rental income component to it that helps with the qualification, like say for like a DSCR loan or some sort of investment loan, in that where the rental income is part and it can offset, and help them get the property. So I'm sure you get a lot of pressure too, is like, how much can this do because I can only put this much money into it, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get that quite frequently. It's, hey, I've got to have this projection. I need to provide it to the lender. Hey, again, I always work from the advantage of I'd rather under promise and over deliver than the other way around. So I never want to get myself into a situation where I've given some larger projection or just the top end of something, but always kind of work within that middle ground and then make sure that the client's comfortable owning their asset and really being able to enjoy it.
All right. So now let's get into the next one. We kind of talked about we want to get qualified. So now, Kendall. The question always comes out, is now a good time to buy or sell a home?
The answer is absolutely yes.
Right.
Always.
From a real estate agent, that's always the answer. Right.
But in all seriousness, yes, it is a good time to buy, quite frankly. And the reason I feel that way, especially here on 30A, is we do have a fair amount of inventory on the market right now. And in years past, we haven't had that. And so now buyers have more choice that they didn't have in the past. I can remember the days of being bidding wars and, being the 10th, 11th, 12th offer coming in. And now it's totally different. So now my buyers have more opportunities to go out. They have more opportunities to actually be able to negotiate, which many years we did not have that opportunity here on 30A. So I do definitely think it's a good time to buy. And it's actually a really good time to have a great relationship with your lender so you can understand how your lender can help you be creative in crafting that offer and in making the property more affordable through whether it be a rate buy down. I mean, there's multiple different ways that you can do that. Right. So the answer is yes, I do think it's a time to buy, a great time to buy. Now, great time to sell. With there being more inventory on the market is definitely more competition. And so it's a little bit more of a challenge on the seller's market. They are still moving, but our absorption rate is certainly not where we would like it to be. So as far as selling, it really depends on the actual situation of that seller as to whether it's a good time to sell or not.
Yeah, and since we're talking about kind of investing in real estate, and you get into the whole 1031 aspect and all that kind of stuff, it could be a good time to kind of time the market. So if you bought the house, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you've got that organic appreciation, especially during the pandemic spike, right? And so now it might be a good time to get into, maybe I exit this property and get into a slightly bigger property because now I've kind of done some of the groundwork. I got a great management company. I feel good about moving into a bigger property that may, require a little bit more strategy. And so that could be a good thing too.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of trade-ups right now. So I think that is absolutely what people are experiencing and understanding, that it's time to utilize some of that equity and go ahead and move to the next property that can get you the greater investment return.
I actually deal a lot of our clients too. They start at one point and then with the goal and vision of always ending up at a different point, right? So it's, hey, they want to get their feet wet in the market at this price point where they feel comfortable. And then from there, their aspirations will allow them to do whatever they want to do. But then again, being able to use some of that equity and appreciation in their property to feel that they've made a good decision by investing in the market and give them confidence to move forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to the next question. How do I determine the best pricing strategy for my short-term rental?
That's a great question.
Well, that's
and one that we get asked probably frequently, and one of the most or one of the questions that is at the top of everyone's mind is, how am I going to generate revenue from this property to be able to make it work? Now, how do you price that property really comes down to the management company that you work with. Some are more aggressive than others. And again, that all depends on the goal of the client itself, right? You might have someone that, hey, I want to be able to use this property for 12 weeks out of the year. Here's what I'm going to come down. I don't want to be down during the busiest time, so that's the way I'm going to use it. Sometimes it's, hey, I need to rent this thing out as much as I possibly can, and I'll come down and use it when it's available to be used. So there's one thing that we call, so you either can sometimes have an occupancy play or you can have an ADR play. So one is occupancy, it's putting heads in beds, right? Trying to fill up the home as much as you can, as often as you can. An ADR play stands for an average daily rate, meaning that you're trying to achieve the highest average daily rate that you can, and you're not so much concerned with occupancy as you are that someone that's willing to pay the price that you've set, and then they're going to be able to enjoy your home as their accommodations. So it really comes down to the actual investor on what's their priority, what they're really looking for in that investment property to be able to answer the question as to how do you price it.
And then once you kind of walk them through that, and those are two good points, then you can help steer them right or left in terms of like, what is your strategy, and then focus on that, because that'll be part of the property too, right? Am I looking for something with lots of bunk rooms and sleeper sofas, or am I looking for something that's just more kind of traditional where it's just bedrooms and, that kind of layout or something, right?
We talk about it all the time. It really depends on what, let's say, a particular family wants to do. If they really want to utilize the house and the rental is secondary, then you're going to price that. They're going to do estimates that are completely different than somebody like myself. I have no intention of my family coming down here and using it. This is strictly investment for me. So I want him to maximize that property. But to his point, heads in beds is not always the best for the property. You really want to, my focus is more of an average daily rate strategy, where I would prefer for the house to be occupied less, but have a higher average daily rate, because the byproduct of that is wear and tear on the home. Mm-hmm. If I'm maximizing the occupancy, that means I've got a lot of traffic in the house, and let's just face it, that can do some serious damage. But if I have less traffic in the house, but I've got a higher average daily rate, I'm probably getting close to the same amount of gross rental revenue without the maintenance issues that I have with that particular property.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is we kind of try to average between about 30 to 34 weeks a year, okay? Now, can you rent homes for more than that? Absolutely. Can you rent homes less weeks than that? Absolutely. But that's a good mixture in between the amount of occupancy that you're going to get plus a good daily rate that is going to make you feel like you're renting your home and someone's paying an amount of money that they're going to appreciate and treat it as if it was their own and treat it with care.
Right, and that kind of goes back to what Boog was saying too, is you got to let the home breathe a little bit in between, some seasons, so you can either do some minor touch up with, or repairs or anything that you need to do, or kind of refresh it. All right, that's really good. All right, so the next one is, Boog, what are some of the best ways to find off-market investment properties?
You have to have a real good relationship with a real good realtor,
That's right.
I don't wake up I have other things that I have to do, but most real estate agents, the good ones, wake up every morning looking for those great opportunities. They want to find something special in the market, and then they will reach out to their clients that they think would be interested in that property, especially someone that has invested, like myself, have invested. So I'll usually get, a call once or twice a week from a couple of different folks that I've worked with. And when they come across something they think special, they're going to put it in front of me right away. Now, they're not going to exclusively put it in front of me. They've got other clients besides me that are really good clients that do multiple properties that they're going to put in front of, but I'm going to be at the top of that list. So if you want to find those things, you could do your own searching, but let's face it, I've got other things going on. That's not what I do every single minute of the day, and the good agents, they're out there doing it. So I would say if you want to find those, you got to cultivate a relationship with a great real estate professional and then let them guide you.
100%.
And then, like, on top of that, I'm sure you have people too that come to you that may have purchased their home with you or listed homes with you before, and they say, hey, look, if you find the right buyer, I may be willing to move, right, or something like that.
All the time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of off-market opportunities that we have that, like Boog said, I mean, I have a list of people that as soon as an off-market comes, if I know it could potentially be a fit for them, I'm on the phone. Calling them, let them know what it is, what the return could be, what it's done in the past. Yeah, off-markets are a big deal in our market here.
Okay.
But you have to have your nose to the ground. You have to be in the know to be able to get those, and there are definitely a lot of people that don't get that information. So
yeah.
be good to your realtor, and they'll be good to you.
Yeah, no, that's really good too, because that's where you can kind of get ahead of the market in finding those off-market opportunities.
Absolutely.
All right. So, all right, Kendall. So, what should I expect during the home inspection process?
Surprises. No, you should expect to hire a very qualified home inspector, and those of us that have been in the business a while know who we should and who we should not hire.
Right.
So you hire them, and then obviously you go through the process, and depending on the type of property, you may have multiple different types of inspections. And then obviously you get together with your client and go through the findings and then work the process depending on the type of offer you put forth, whether it's an as-is offer or a typical offer, and I won't get into all of those details, but depending on the offer, it depends on the process from there. But obviously what you want to know is that the home is sound, that the major systems are sound, and in today's market, you want to know ages of certain things that are hot buttons in the insurance world,
Right.
So roofs and things of that nature. But you just have to expect to find certain things, and then hopefully be working with an agent that is experienced enough to help you navigate through that, whether it be to get repairs, to get a credit, or post-closing to have the things taken care of.
Okay. No, that's really good. All right. And then, so Brandon, what is the best way to market a vacation rental property? So let's say that, I've worked through the loan process, I'm an investor and we've worked with a great realtor and we found that property. So, what is your kind of best foot forward in terms of, I want to market this now and I want to work with a property management company?
Yeah, that's a great question. Getting visibility once you have a short-term rental, having the properties be able to be seen by the most amount of eyes is going to drive the best nightly rental rates and also best occupancy rates. So how do you generate that visibility is really the question, right? Now that can happen through a multitude of ways. You can rely on your CRM, where you have a list of customers that have used you as a short-term rental management company that they come back to year in, year out because you provide them great service. So you can reach out to them, send out newsletters, send out emails, marketing to them, letting them know what new inventory you have and all of that kind of great stuff. There's a number of other ways to market too. One of the things that I'm very proud of is we do have a relationship with Marriott Bonvoy Home and Villas. Okay. So being able to be included in their network of people, over 5 million people visit that site on a daily basis, not necessarily for this market specifically, but just all around. So there's a lot of eyes on 30A. So there's that. We are partners with Airbnb Luxe as well. So higher quality inventory is going to be able to be seen there, and there's less of it, so you're not getting stuck in the Airbnbs and the VRBOs and trying to sift through that. But then obviously utilizing those online travel agencies like Airbnb, VRBO, it's really just more of being able to have great relationships with those companies. But then how you navigate that is really, really important. I say this, anybody can list a home on Airbnb. Right. Anybody can list a home on VRBO.
Right.
But how do you do that is where you're really going to see results versus not seeing results.
And that's probably something that, you get with a first-time investor, right? Is like, they want to ask you, what is that partnership?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I truly believe we built Southern Holiday Homes on is we are not in the quantity of homes business, we're in the quality of relationships business. So we truly look at it like a partnership. And how do you work with that client to find the best strategy and to also go to them with suggestions, right? And Kendall, I'm sure that you do all the time when you have someone reach out to you that wants to list the property, well, you might have some suggestions for them in order to be able to get top dollar. It's the same thing for us in the short-term rental world here. It's become so competitive. There's so much inventory available. How are you going to set apart your property so that when someone clicks on it, they say, hey, I have to vacation here? And I think that's really a partnership. It's us knowing what we're doing and the experience that we have and the results that we've generated, and taking that from those homes that have been successful and going back to them. And, it's as simple sometimes as window coverings and other things, just little things here and there. It's definitely in the details, and a well-appointed home in this market will still do extremely well even post-COVID.
Okay, that's good.
I'll tell you too, for the first-time investor, a lot of folks, one of them was a good friend of mine. They invested in a property down here, and they decided that they were going to manage it themselves. And so they were going to put it on Airbnb and VRBO. And to Brandon's point, they're not professionals. He's a great banker, phenomenal banker. He is not phenomenal at marketing his beach property.
Right.
And he struggled quite a bit. He just couldn't. It's a wonderful property, but he couldn't get enough visibility. It's just one of a billion properties on VRBO or Airbnb, right. And he couldn't get any traction. So he asked me, what do you do? I go, I partner with a professional where they to the point we made with the real estate professional. I partner with a professional that does this every day for a living. They maximize visibility for my properties. I have no idea how to do that, So, right. But I'm going to partner with somebody like Brandon that obviously knows what they're doing and does an excellent job.
A lot of good conversation here. We've hit some of the top questions in terms of how do I pick apart a property? How do I get approved? What kind of loans are out there? How do I market this property? And then also, okay, what are some of the quiet listings that no one knows about, or what are those little secret little properties I can get into? Plus, all of the insight from an investment standpoint. That's a wrap for today's episode. I hope this helped answer some of your biggest questions about getting started in real estate investing. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss next week's episode. That's where we'll break down the best financing and mortgage options for vacation rentals. See you then.